In the year 1453, one of the greatest cities in human history stood on the brink of annihilation. Constantinople lay for over 1,000 years. This legendary capital had defied every invader, the last beating heart of the Roman Empire, protected by colossal stone walls, towering gates, and legendary defenses. It was considered the most impregnable city on earth. But a new conqueror was coming, a young, brilliant, and ruthless sultan, named Mehmed II, and he had sworn to bring the Roman Empire to its final, bloody end. By the middle of the 15th century, the once mighty Byzantine Empire was just a shadow of its former self. Its vast territories, which once spanned 3 continents, had shrunk to little more than the city itself and a few scattered lands. Inside Constantinople, a mere 7,000 defenders remained, exhausted, outnumbered, and desperately short on supplies. Facing them was the unstoppable war machine of the Ottoman Empire, an army of over 100,000 soldiers, including the elite Janissary Corps, heavy cavalry, and the most advanced artillery the world had ever seen. The fate of the Roman world, a legacy stretching back to Augustus Caesar, was about to be decided in a final, cataclysmic battle. Sultan Mehmed II was only 21 years old, but his ambition was limitless. He was determined to succeed where countless armies before him had failed. To achieve this, he assembled one of the most terrifying military forces of the medieval age. He brought siege engineers capable of bypassing any defense, and at the heart of his army were his monstrous cannons, designed to shatter stone walls that had stood for centuries. One of these cannons was a true behemoth, nicknamed the Basilica. This supergun was so massive, it required hundreds of men and dozens of oxen to move into position. It fired colossal stone balls weighing over 600 kilograms, each one capable of pulverizing ancient fortifications with a single, earth-shattering impact. When Mehmed's artillery finally opened fire, the sound was like the wrath of God. The defenders on the walls could do little but watch in horror as their legendary defenses began to crumble, stone by stone, under the relentless bombardment. By April of 1453, Mehmed's army had completely surrounded Constantinople by land, while his powerful fleet blockaded it from the sea. The city was trapped. The great siege had begun. Inside, the last Roman emperor, Constantine XI Palaiologos, prepared for a final, desperate stand. He commanded a small, multinational force of barely 7,000 soldiers. This included his loyal Byzantine troops, a contingent of skilled Genoese mercenaries led by the courageous Giovanni Giustinian, and brave volunteers who had traveled from all across Europe to defend what they saw as the last bastion of Christendom. They stood defiantly atop the city's massive, triple-layered walls, clutching swords, spears, crossbows, and primitive firearms. Facing impossible odds, they swore an oath to fight to the very last man. For them, this was not just another battle. This was the defense of their world, their faith, and civilization itself. For 53 brutal days and nights, the Ottoman cannons pounded Constantinople's walls without pause. The ground shook with every impact, sending tremors throughout the city. Ancient stone towers, which had stood for 1,000 years, collapsed into clouds of dust and rubble. Fires, sparked by the relentless bombardment, burned across the city, casting an apocalyptic glow against the night sky. The air was thick with smoke, the constant roar of cannons, and the cries of the wounded. Every single night, under the cover of darkness, the defenders would rush to the shattered sections of the wall. Men, women, and even children worked tirelessly to repair the breaches. They used whatever they could find: wood, earth, rubble, and even their own bodies to plug the gaps before the next day's assault. The Ottoman army launched wave after wave of attacks. Troops swarmed up ladders, charged through broken gates, and fought in the narrow breaches, only to be cut down by the desperate, heroic defenders. The battlefield became a hellscape of smoke, blood, and shattered stone. But with each passing day, the defenders grew weaker. Their numbers dwindled, and the legendary walls of Constantinople grew thinner. On the 29th of May, 1453, just before dawn, Sultan Mehmed II launched his final, all-out assault. The air was split by the sound of thousands of war horns and the thunderous beat of war drums. More than 100,000 Ottoman soldiers surged forward in a massive, coordinated attack. The first wave consisted of irregular troops, the Bashabazauks, sent to exhaust the defenders and absorb the first volleys of arrows and stones. They were followed by better-equipped Anatolian regiments, and finally came the most feared soldiers in the world, the Janissaries, marching in perfect, disciplined formation. Armored in steel and wielding swords and shields, they advanced with terrifying resolve towards the weakest points in the defenses. At a section of the wall near the gate of St. Romanus, a small, unlocked postern gate, left open by accident or by treachery, was discovered by Ottoman troops. At the same time, the Genoese commander, Giustiniani, was gravely wounded, and his evacuation from the walls caused a sudden panic among the defenders. Seizing the moment, Janissaries poured through the breaches in the open gate. The defensive line collapsed. Seeing that all was lost, Emperor Constantine XI threw aside his royal insignia, drew his sword, and charged headlong into the fray alongside his last remaining soldiers. He disappeared into the sea of attackers, fighting until the very end. His body was never conclusively identified. The last Roman emperor died not on a throne, but as a common soldier, defending his city to his last breath. As Ottoman forces poured into the city, the Roman Empire, an institution that had endured for over 2,000 years since its founding as a republic, finally came to an end. The bells of the city's 1,000 churches fell silent. The Hagia Sophia, the grandest cathedral in all of Christendom for nearly a millennium, was converted into a mosque, its magnificent mosaics covered with plaster. Constantinople, the queen of cities, was reborn as Istanbul, the new capital of the triumphant Ottoman Empire. The fall of this great city sent shockwaves across the world, marking the true end of the Middle Ages and the dawn of a new era. The Roman Empire was finally dead, but its incredible legacy in law, language, architecture, and culture would continue to shape our world forever. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic history. See you next time.